Hello and welcome to Innerwheel Stories. There is nothing beautiful and exciting than the story. Everybody had story. Now let us watch what the story has to say.
Well, I spent quite a bit of my life in Goa. Although I was born in Mumbai, my family moved to Goa when I was 6 years old.
Okay.
So all my schooling took place in Goa. I passed my SSLC in 1960,
Oh, I see.
so which was before the liberation of Goa.
Yeah.
So then I had to go to college in Mumbai.
Okay.
So I went to Bombay to Wilson College and I did my BA there, and then I went to the Bombay University and did my MA over there. So then in 67 when I completed my MA, I came back to Goa. Then after that, for about 4-5 years, I was either learning some courses or doing a little bit of tuitions.
Oh.
And then in 1972, 72 to 74 as a matter of fact, I taught in a college in Savanthwadi.
Oh.
And in 74 I got married, and that's when I came here to Belgaum after my marriage to Dr. Anil Chittur.
Okay, that's great.
That this family was a much bigger family than the family I came from. Of course, in my family, my grandmother was there, my parents, and we 5 children. So it was still 8 of us, but it was a nuclear family. Whereas here, I had my brother-in-law and sister-in-law and my mother and father-in-law together. And then there were constant people coming and going, and with lots of children in the house. So we were more than 12 of us in the house. But it was a totally different atmosphere. And what was common between the two was it was a very progressive atmosphere where we were encouraged to do whatever we wanted. My father was a sportsman, so he encouraged all of us to play. So my brothers and I, we were into badminton and table tennis, and my brothers were more into swimming also. And here also, especially my mother-in-law was very, very active on the social front and in games and in all kinds of things. You knew her tatting and crochet and knitting and just about everything. So it was a very progressive family to come into. So I was never stopped from doing anything. On the contrary, I was encouraged to go out, I was encouraged to do things. So when I got married in 74, I was a little quiet. But 77 I joined Innerwheel. And that is exactly when my journey sort of started. The person that you see today, you always call me a very confident person who knows to speak very well.
Dynamic.
Well, all that started very much after I joined Innerwheel. In college itself, I was a very quiet person. You may not believe it, but speaking very, very little. And somehow when I came to Innerwheel, I could, what shall I say, bring out, I suppose they were my hidden qualities or something, whatever. But slowly, under the guidance of Machi Kapadia especially, and in coordination with the other members of Innerwheel, I slowly began to do a few things like do the vote of thanks, say the Innerwheel prayer, then go on to introduce somebody, and so on and so forth. And then, once you start doing things, your confidence just goes higher and higher up. And then slowly I got into the district, and then passes to chairman and so on and so forth. And I'm happy to be still in. As a child, because my family was quite progressive, we were encouraged to do all kinds of things. So actually in Goa, I don't remember much of my childhood in Thane in Mumbai, except that you lived in a huge house and we had 2 big Alsatian dogs. But after I came at 6, when I came to Goa and joined school, we used to live in a place which was across the river. I studied in Panjim, Goa, and for a number of years I was staying across the river, the Mandovi river. So every time we had to cross by ferry boat or by launch or something like that. So, but I used to come to school with my brother. Brother is younger than I am. I was the eldest. And we used to have these Portuguese soldiers coming with us and so on and so forth. But we were never taught to be scared of them or anything like that. It was just taken as a matter of routine. Because my family went there in 1953, so which was very much Portuguese occupation. And there was a fort near my house, so there was a police barracks over there. So they would come on the launch and all that. But we were never taught to be scared of them, or we were never taught to be nervous of them or anything. Just carry on with your life as you want to. And in school, we used to have school from 8:15 to 1:15, which meant that we would come home for lunch. And then in the evening, my father would always take us out to play. Either to play badminton or table tennis, something like that. And he used to play bridge with his friends. And my grandmother was a big influence on us, because she was the one who told us, when you're speaking, speak good English, grammatical English, pronounce properly, see that your spellings are okay. She very much emphasized that whatever you learn, you have to learn well. The other thing that she always told us is no telling lies or no gossiping. If you want to say something about a person, have you experienced it? Don't say something that somebody has told you about somebody. So those things, they stick in your mind, whatever you say. My mother was a very good cook, very loving person, and she was, a very compromising sort of a person, adjusting to things, because she had a mother-in-law in the house, she had a husband in the house, husband was very busy with his work, and 5 children, so you can imagine. But she was a very cheerful person. Even my daughters remember her as a very, very cheerful, loving grandmother who would look after us, because we had all kinds of different timings, early in the morning, 8 to 1:15, then my brothers would go to play at about 5 o'clock, I would go to play at 4:30, and they come back at 7:30, 8 o'clock, then have our baths and dinner and all that. So that's the kind of past I came from. When I went to college, I stayed with my aunt. That is a different life altogether. Because she, her husband and the children, only they would be staying, and they virtually adopted me as one more daughter. So my cousin and I got along very well. So I went to college over there. So no experience of hostel life, but I had a good life over there also with my aunt. And we had a good time there. From there, we used to stay in Belgaum. From there, I could go to CCI, where my father was a member, and play badminton over there. I was in the NCC for 4-5 years. So somewhere that I think has built up my character. Although at that time I was very, very quiet, no taking part in entertainment programs, no going for speeches and things like that. My studies, my college, my NCC, my games, that's it. Well, my life in Innerwheel started in a very interesting way. The Kitturs were a family of Rotarians. My father-in-law was a Rotarian, so was my husband and my brother-in-law. So Geeta and I, and Anutai of course, used to go for these dinner meetings with Rotarians, actually attend many of Rotarians' meetings in the first place. So at one meeting in November 1977, suddenly we had some guests, Innerwheel members, coming in from Hubli, Mrs. Mangala Paikoti, and I think Yashomati also was there, and Bharti Sharma from Raichur. They came for our meeting. And they said, we have come here determined to start an Innerwheel club. Well, by that time we had not really heard of Innerwheel, although I think Maki Kapadia had, because her husband had been a Rotary governor, so she used to be visiting. And all these years we had been saying, no, we don't want to start any ladies club and things like that. But that day they just insisted. And all of us were there, and they said, no, if so many of you are here, you have to start an Innerwheel club. So then Geeta suddenly suggested Maki's name as the charter president. And somehow in the heat of things, let's put it, we formed an Innerwheel club, formed the committee, and then over 2 or 3 years, we were about 42 of us who joined the Innerwheel in the beginning. And then in September, that was 1978, we got the charter. And actually our journey in Innerwheel started right from the point that the Innerwheel club started itself. And we started having different kinds of projects and so on and so forth. My daughter was to be born. I was pregnant that year, so I was not taken in the committee. But she was born in April 1978. And after that, slowly, because there were enough people in the house to look after her, I started getting into Innerwheel. And then, as I said, we started off with saying the Innerwheel prayer, and then a vote of thanks, and then the introduction, and so on and so forth. And that is how it started. And it was great fun, because with only 42 members, many of us were involved in different projects, and projects were taken up where every member would participate. For example, our first project of supplying milk to the children of school number 36. Every day, 3 members would go to the house of Sujaya Prasanna Kumar, who was the wife of the officer here in Vaccine Depot. And there, we would mix the milk powder, which was donated to us by the bishop. And mix the milk powder, she would keep her water boiling over there. We would take one katori of sugar with us and mix it up, take the milk to the children, and there were nearly over 100 children there in Vaccine Depot. So take it there, distribute it to all the kids, make them drink it there so that they should not take it home, and then go back home. So all of us were really involved in that. That is how we got so, so connected with Vaccine Depot School. And then over the years, we've been working over there. Then we took up different projects associated with the physically handicapped and so on. But that is how the whole journey sort of started. Actually, the fact is that because I belong to a joint family with a very progressive family, the whole family actually, it was quite easy for me. Because with the sister-in-law like Gita and mother-in-law Anutai, she was busy with her. She used to get up very early in the morning and she used to love to do the cooking. So she was very happy doing the cooking. So I didn't have to do much cooking, and I'm not a very good cook in the first place. So she was quite happy doing all the cooking and everything. Gita used to look after my children if I was away, even when I was past district chairman, because I was district chairman in 87-88, which meant that my younger daughter was about 9 years old. So schooling and all that, but these kids used to manage. This mother-in-law and sister-in-law and these kids used to manage, no problem. My husband also was involved with social activities, so he knew what it was like. He had been president of IMA and president of Rotary and so on and so forth. So he was also quite amenable to the fact, okay, you want to go, you go, no problem. And luckily for me, at that time we only had about 25 or 26 clubs. So it was not too much of a hassle meeting up with the clubs and going for the conference and assembly and things like that. But basically the thing is sort of to prioritize your things, which is the most important thing at this time, and then to do that. As far as possible, try and make arrangements for the rest of the things. As I said, I was lucky that I had servants also in the house, and I think my children also grew up to be more self-dependent because mother was not in the house very often. I remember my husband asking my children, where does Gita Kaki go? To the clinic. Where does Ajji go? To the school. Where does Mummy go? Meeting, they would say always. So it was a regular thing. Because I was, by that time, because my mother-in-law was very much into the social sector, I was very much into Shardotsav, and then I joined SK Society and so on and so forth. So meetings were quite a regular thing. Somehow, I don't know, I managed. I think that is the sort of an attitude that I have basically, not to worry too much, take things as they come. Chalo, aaj kya karna hai, subah uth ke, aaj kya karna hai, this. So then, how do you make time for that? And then with the cooperation of everybody, you manage it.
Any diary you write for the...
No, I don't write diary, really kuch nahi. Except when I was in the Innerwheel, especially past district chairman, then I used to be writing because I had to sort of keep notes of my club visits and things like that. But otherwise I don't do it.
Daily routine.
Daily routine. I've got not so much daily, it's more like weekly. Whenever I know I've got a meeting. So today, on top of my dressing table, I've got the Preeti Chindak Innerwheel interview 4:30 p.m. So that's another thing. Yeah, because otherwise I tend to forget. Right now, at least, I don't quite remember exactly what is to be done. So tomorrow I've got a meeting in the college, okay, or Sunday I've got something. So decide something. There is not a diary, just some waste paper bullying. Well, I don't know about success mantra. Actually, I sometimes wonder whether I qualify in that successful category in the first place.
You are.
People say I have been successful,
Yes.
but I think I have been more like, in the right place at the right time. Let's put it that way. Because even when I actually joined Innerwheel, or rather, more than joining Innerwheel, when I joined the Innerwheel district, it was just a coincidence. Maki Kapadia was supposed to be the district chairman in 87, 88, not 87, sorry, 84, 85, and Sujaya Prasanna Kumar was supposed to be a secretary. So they had made all the plans and printed the Innerwheel directory, everything was ready. Suddenly in May, her husband got transferred to Bangalore. So Maki was running short of a secretary. And at that time we used to have these swimmers club camps at the swimming pool, which were done by the swimmers club and Innerwheel together. So we used to go there in the morning, 6 o'clock, 6 to 8, somebody had to go there to just look after the children and all. So Maki and I usually used to go. So she told me, Lata, this is what has happened. So why don't you become the secretary? District secretary? Suddenly I had just finished my presidentship. I was president in 83, 84. And suddenly this came up. So he said, no, I need somebody because Sujaya has gone up to Bangalore and I can't think of anybody else. So that is how I got in as district secretary in the first place. Then once I got in, then it was like I became district treasurer and then vice chairman and then chairman. So actually it took me just 4 years to go into the district and then become the chairman. So it was just a matter of being in the right place at the right time. Otherwise I would not even have thought of going to the district as a matter of fact. Where the rest of the things were concerned, because I was supposed to be good at something, so people pushed responsibilities onto me. Yeah, aisa karo, take up the post of president of Swimmers Club, take up the post of president of Art Circle, things like that. And that is how things have happened. I've always had people with me who are doing a great job. Now even in the Art Circle, I don't know much about music or whatever, but the committee that I have is the one that is always backing me up. So I just have to sit there and just get things together, that is all. And then as it happens, the success always comes to the head. So you always say, okay, you are very successful as a president. Actually, they don't see the work of the executive committee.
And everything means as a woman, as a teacher, and everything. You are a successful.
As a teacher, I think what happens is I like to teach. Basically, that is the main thing. And when you are doing something that you like, then you put your heart and soul into it. And I believe that a teacher is only as good as her students. If you can't convey what you want to do, what you want to say, if you can't make the children understand that, it is your fault more than that child's fault. You can't say, Arey, you don't understand what I'm telling you. It has got to be done in such a way that that child must understand whatever it is. So I think from that it comes about. And I've also seen that in my teaching career. Over now I've been taking tuitions as such for nearly now more than 25 years, and I found that I have learned a lot about English, I have learned a lot about grammar in this journey of teaching the other children. So if I am a successful teacher, again, I owe a lot to the children who came to me, who asked me questions, who asked me difficulties, and who still continue to meet me and remember me as their teacher. That's always a very, very good feeling to have. As a homemaker, I don't think I've been a very successful homemaker. My mother-in-law was a successful homemaker. She used to run things around. And now I try to do the best I can, but I'm not really a homemaker as such. I don't think it runs in my blood. I don't have too many hobbies as a matter of fact. But I like to do reading. I do quite a lot of reading, not that I don't. And once upon a time I had the habit of knitting. So especially the tiny socks and all, somebody had a baby, not much patience for knitting big things, so tiny socks or tiny sweaters or something like that. I have learned cross stitch and tatting and all that, but I don't do too much of it. And gardening, yeah, I like to roam around in the garden more than actually gardening, little bit of gardening. And what else? I have a busy social life. These days I think hobby is WhatsApp to a large extent. That has become everybody's hobby, I think. Yeah. But I do like to go and roam around among the flowers. I've got some pots on top of the terrace and all that. So you get some flowers like this, dai or something. Nice smell, dai, mogra and all that. So that's a good hobby to have. Although as I said, I've got a gardener who does most of my work. What else? I do some work on the computer sometimes, if and when needed. But nothing major actually. I like to go around. I like to travel. So I've been to England. My son is in England, so I've been to England a couple of times. And then with my husband, I went to Singapore, to a few places in India. Udaipur, my daughter stays. Bangalore is a regular thing. Well, that depends on what you mean by spiritual. If you mean doing a lot of rituals and things like that, I'm not a very spiritual person. Although I came to this family where the family gods were very much in our house, and there used to be a priest coming every day, and we had to do. My mother-in-law was quite particular about that. Whether it was Navratri, so 9 days of keeping the oil lamp burning, Ganpati, Gokul, Nag Panchami, all the festivals, Shravan Maina and all that. So that time we used to do it along with her. Even now like the other day we did Gokul Ashtami in the house, or Ganpati, Nag Panchami and so on and so forth. But I do it because it is there, but for me that is not the only thing. So if you take it as from the point of view of doing rituals, then as my son-in-law once asked me, that is say 3 out of 10. Okay, I do it, but that is not my idea of spirituality. But if you mean by being spiritual, do you believe in God? Yes, definitely. I believe in God. I believe in a higher being. I believe that every day you have to thank God for whatever He has given me, for whatever life I am leading. And in that sense, yes, I am a very spiritual person, call it that way. There it would be 8 out of 10, maybe 9 out of 10. In the sense of believing in a higher being who knows what is best for me and who will always do what is best for me, who will never do any harm to me. So from that point of view, yes, spiritual, definitely. As a long-standing member of Innerwheel, I think I've seen Innerwheel right from, as I said, 1977, and I've heard stories of how it was even before that. And basically at that time, not much money was involved in Innerwheel in the first place. And so there was a lot of personal work being done. There was a lot of person-to-person contact. The clubs were perhaps smaller. And we believe very much in that friendship and service thing, of course, more than anything else. So we concentrated on taking up projects which were continued over the years. And we also concentrated on building up friendships within so we used to form like one small family. Now what has happened is the clubs have become bigger, which means that automatically, I mean, like it happens in a joint family, for example, a little bit of, what shall I say, a few more groups. There are groups which are closer to each other, and then there is cohesion between the groups, that sort of a thing. And the other thing is something that has been happening in this world, the whole world has been changing. It's becoming more materialistic, more consumeristic, let's put it that way. So which means that I think there are more goods that you have, there is more money playing around in your hands, women have become more empowered. Most of us did not go to work, most women go to work these days. So slowly that Innerwheel culture also has changed. I'm not saying it has changed for the worse, but we feel that change in ourselves. So we feel very often that the projects are sort of impersonal. चलो आज ये स्कूल में जाएंगे, कल उधर जाएंगे, कल उधर जाएंगे, we are not really connected with one particular thing. And then as it happens with a mother-in-law and daughter-in-law, no, हमारे दिन में ऐसा था. So a little bit of that tendency is there. But I also find that these days very often there's a lot more importance paid to what a function looks like more than what the function is actually. So if the function is, for example, of say vocational awards, of giving something to somebody for some good work that lady has done, we are paying much more attention to what is around her, the decoration of the hall and this, that and the other. And when the actual function comes through, that lady is sitting in there in one corner. She's brought there for the function or for her felicitation, and then she goes back and sits in the corner. But the whole, what shall I say? The whole attention is more on the decor and the women who are sitting there and things like that. Which, as I said, it is not a bad thing, but we feel that that could be cut out a little and concentrate on that particular occasion. Or if you have a particular occasion you are dealing, and then after that suddenly you have games or something, then that sort of takes away from that actual occasion what you're doing and things like that. But then it is in keeping with the times, I guess, because friendship is one of the mottos of Innerwheel. So besides service, you do need some friendship, you need some games and so on and so forth. And right from the top of the, what shall I say, association and things like that, everybody is talking about branding Innerwheel, make Innerwheel a big thing. So putting the news in the papers and making a big thing out of whatever program you have is not such a bad thing. But my message to the members in general would be, as Geeta said the other day, go back to the basics. Remember what your basis was. The basis is friendship and service. So concentrate more on that. Concentrate more on projects which give you a lot more satisfaction. Like for example this year the transgenders project was a totally different project, but which I am sure gave a lot of satisfaction not only to those who are doing it, but to the people whom they connected with. That is very important. Doing work for HIV positive children, for example, or doing things that connect you with other people, rather than merely doing projects for the sake of doing projects, for the sake of saying, oh, I did 100 projects in my year. And then what projects were they? Well, I went to some college, I went to some school and just distributed sweets, just talked to people. That doesn't work. So that is my message, so that you get satisfaction out of having done that project. That is very important. That you should not do it only for the number of projects, you should do it for the satisfaction that it gives you. That I think would be the main message. Do your projects. Even if you do less projects, it doesn't matter. Involve as many members as you can, and members do get involved. It is just a question of asking them, and it's just a question of involving them in the whole thing. And you will get a lot of satisfaction. The main basic thing in life, I always feel, is to do something that gives you satisfaction, that gives you happiness in the first place. Don't do things only because you are supposed to do them, because everybody else is doing them, because you are forced to do them. So if you do things that you really like, and then of course, as I think my grandmother used to say this, she says, you can't always do what you like, but you can try to like what you do. If you have to do something, learn to like it, learn to look at the advantages that you get out of it, learn to see how you can do it better, and then you will like what you're doing. So then that becomes your success mantra. You obviously succeed in that, and you get satisfaction and happiness out of it.